Hello there, Borderlex and EU Trade Insights subscribers. I'm Jana Dreyer, the founder and editor of Borderlex. Welcome to our new series of videos on trade policy in the EU. We will be with you every 2 weeks from now on. Today is a defining moment in European trade policy. Members of the European Parliament sitting in Strasbourg will vote on the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement between the EU and Canada. The pact is otherwise known as CETA. CETA has proven highly controversial in Europe, not least because it was equated or seen as a proxy for the TTIP negotiations the EU was leading in parallel with the United States. Whereas TTIP is dormant, anti-trade campaigners have continued to protest against CETA in recent weeks. CETA significantly liberalizes trade between the EU and Canada. It eliminates almost all import tariffs on goods, and it opened up markets in services and government procurement. Should a majority of the EU's 751 MEPs endorse the deal, then it is expected to come into force sometime this spring, most likely in April. The coming into force will only be provisional, as all member states, the 28, will have to ratify the deal. Some parts of the agreement will not come into force, including the controversial investment court system devised by the government in Ottawa and Brussels. The ratification process by the member states could take another few years. A rejection by MEPs will also be a huge setback for the EU's trade policy, because trade is one of the most important tools for the EU to wield influence across the globe. With Donald Trump in power in the United States, the government in Ottawa and Brussels have made it a priority to get CETA through. Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau will be addressing MEPs this week on CETA. But CETA is not the only item on the EU's agenda in the coming 2 weeks. The EU's trade negotiators are talking to negotiators from the Philippines this week. They are holding a second round of free trade negotiations. The EU is trying to make headways in Southeast Asia on trade. It already has signed agreements with Singapore and Vietnam, which need to be ratified sometime this year by the EU, and it is trying to negotiate other deals in the region. The EU is also preparing to grant Kyrgyzstan extra trade preferences under its so-called GSP Plus system. Commission officials are in Bishkek this week to examine Kyrgyzstan's compliance with a series of international conventions on human rights, the environment, and labor. Their assessment will help decide whether to grant these preferences. Kyrgyzstan's president will also be in Brussels, meeting the top leadership in the Commission. Then there is the big elephant in the room, Brexit. The British government is preparing to formally notify its withdrawal from the EU under the Lisbon Treaty's so-called Article 50 procedure. That is expected to happen sometime in March. The House of Commons has already examined the bill and approved the move. Next week, starting on February the 20th, it will be the turn of the House of Lords to look into this move and into the legislation more closely. That's it for the next 2 weeks in EU trade. Thank you for listening.